Chamaerops humilis, the European fan palm. Here we have a wonderful specimen over 2 meters tall, and it's pretty much the toughest palm you can grow here in the UK. And when I say tough, I mean really tough. So in this video, I'm going to tell you about a story of 2 Chamaerops fan palms, show you how tough they really are, and we're going to pot one up and hopefully see it get better and better. So this is one of 2 of the Chamaerops fan palms I've had for many years, and this one has been through a lot, and it shows you how tough these palms are. When I say it's been through a lot, it went through the awful winters of 2010 and 11 where it went down to -10 in a pot, and it was kept in a narrow pot for about a decade, if not more, and it thrived basically. When I say thrive, this palm it doesn't mind being neglected, and that's one of the key factors why it's such a good palm for the UK gardens, especially if you don't want to have a high maintenance garden, because you can just plant it and let it get on with it. You can grow it in a pot like I've shown for over 10 years and it still looks good. This one, however, has been pushed to the edge, quite extreme conditions, because it was grown in that pot for over 10 years. Then last October, a winter storm smashed the pot. And as you can see, it's still not been potted up. So all these roots here have been exposed to frost, to snow, to hail, to sunshine, to all the weather conditions over the last sort of 10 months. So it's been out of a pot for 10 months, been completely dried off at the roots, and most of these roots on the edges will have died. And it's hardly been watered apart from rain, but yet it's still alive. And I want to give this palm a second or third chance at growing and thriving, just like the palm we have in the garden. And believe it or not, I know this plant can be resurrected because it's such a tough and forgiving palm. And we're going to make matters a little bit worse for this palm in the shorthand, because we're going to have to chop through the root ball to get it into a new pot, because the new pot is not as deep as this one. And believe it or not, even by chopping through this root ball completely won't kill the palm, and it will actually benefit it by producing more new roots, and in the long run make it a healthier plant. And I've got evidence for that coming up later in the video. But for now, you can see it's got quite a lot of dead leaves, obviously, but the center spear is fine and the side spears are fine as well. So we're going to pot this up like I've shown in previous videos, and I'll put a link in the corner and the description below. And it's basically a peat-free mix, but it's a loam base, so it's got sand, it's got loam in there, it's got a bit of fertilizer in there already, and we're going to add lots of grit. And if you've got perlite, that's fine to use as well, but I'm going to use grit to make it nice and heavy for this pot so it won't fall over at all. And we're going to mix it up really well, and then we're going to cut through this root ball, and I'll show you what that does to this palm tree. So here's the pot, the new pot we're going to use. It's a 50 centimeter durable plastic pot, and what I've had to do is drill some drainage holes in the bottom. So there are plenty of those that are about 1 centimeter wide, so I'll add ample drainage, and I'll put a few crock roll pots in the bottom of here. And then we'll use my potting mix that we've just mixed up in the wheelbarrow to pot up this palm tree. But as you can see, if I put that by the side, you can see the plant is actually taller than the pot. So we're going to have to do some surgery on this palm tree. And believe it or not, you can cut through the roots of this potted Chamaerops palm and it won't really affect it, and it will grow strongly from it. And I did this to an identical palm that was grown in an identical pot for the same length of time about 2-3 years ago. I literally cut this in half and I planted it in the front garden, and we'll show you near the end of the video what that palm tree looks like now, because it looked exactly like this, same size, up until 2 or 3 years ago when I did that surgery on that palm tree. But anyway, back to this one. We're going to have to cut probably, we've got about 10 centimeters there, but if I want some root growth to go into new compost, we might take off 15-20 centimeters off the base of this palm tree. So we're going to lay it down, and we'll just do that now. So this root ball is extremely dry. You can see all the dead roots on the outside, but I know this plant will survive. But unfortunately, we're going to have to give it a bit more trauma because we're going to cut off the bottom of this palm tree. And like I said, this has been in this compost since 2008, I think, or 2009. So it's about 15 years in this compost. And this palm tree is still alive, but let's cut off this amount of roots. It's using a saw. It's going to cut through. Now we'll just add, you can't do this to every palm tree because a lot of palm trees do suffer and can die if you cut back the roots. The prime example being Bria armata. If you have Bria armata, the silver Mexican palm, blue Mexican palm, whatever you do, do not get a saw to it. Don't even tease out the roots or break them at all. Because if you do that with those palms, that root will die at the point of contact where you've cut it. It will die back right to the base of the palm and any other feeder roots going off it. To only do this to potted plants, potted palms like Chamaerops. You can do with tracheas and bootias as well, but definitely not Bria armata. I think it's time to get a spade out and cut through there because we've got lots of grit, which obviously the saw doesn't like cutting through. The roots are easy to cut through, but that grit is so tightly together that the saw isn't really cutting it. Let's lever it off. Nearly there. I can see why the saw won't cutting through because there's a full brick or roof tile in there for drainage at the base. Well, that spade's cut through there. So now you can see how dry this is. It's absolutely bone dry, but in the middle we have some live roots. They're dead on the outside, they're live in the centre. So we'll pot this up into a new pot. We'll give it a good water with some seaweed extract. We'll put it in a nice sheltered position and we'll come back probably in 2 years' time and hopefully we'll see this palm absolutely flourishing. I will tidy it up as well because you'll notice it's got lots of brown leaves. I'll cut those off now and we'll have a look at it potted up. Okay, so now we've got the compost mixture and the crocks in the base of the pot. Time to get the palm tree in. And I'm basically gonna just lift it in, see if we're at the right level. So I'm just coming around now. Just gonna drop that in. That is pretty much at the right level. So I'll just pot around here. I'll put some more compost all the way around, centre it, just get it completely level, and then we'll move it into its final position. So there's the palm tree potted up. Nice clean pot, put some gravel in there as well. Cut off the old leaves, give it some seaweed feed. Looking nice and healthy. And we'll come back in a couple of years and we'll see how much it's grown and progressed. Now it's time to show you finally identical palm tree in the front garden. So here's the palm tree in the front garden that was the same size And now look how healthy and green it is. Nice, healthy leaves right down to the ground. Really happy in this location. And if I just come away slightly, you can see the full palm and its surroundings. Very happy. And that's had its root ball cut in two, far more severe than what we did with the other one. And it's grown substantially. Again, it's a slow growing palm, really filled out, no dotting, spotting on the leaves. Wonderfully healthy. Just shows that you can treat them mean, and it surely is one of the toughest palm trees you can grow here in the UK and in the Northern Hemisphere. So thank you for watching this edition of Exotic Garden UK. Join me next week. We'll be doing more in the garden.